are threatened by African unity, because the unity of African people will mean they are equal to China, they are equal to India, they are equal to Russia, they are equal to Britain. We, as progressive Pan-Africanists, must fully associate with and support all revolutionary actions of fighters who are removing puppets of French imperialism from political office and power. We must teach our people that we are not beggars. When we ask for reparation, we are not asking for donation. We are asking for what was stolen from us to be returned so that we can prosper. All these actions are revolutionary because we must be careful of French-sponsored coups in Africa, where we think there is a revolution taking place in Guinea-Conakry, only to find that there is a French puppet who seeks to replace those who were there before. There is nothing revolutionary about the Guinea-Conakry coup. We ought to separate that there can never be a revolutionary coup that reinforces French imperialism on African soil. Anyone who comes into political office under the pretext that they are fighting a French puppet while knowing they are the French puppet themselves must be isolated by progressive Pan-Africanists. All French soldiers and military must leave the African continent, and this also should apply to neo-colonial military bases, including the African Command Center of the USA. We don't want the army of America. We don't want the army of France here. We don't want the army of anyone. We want African army on African soil. The Pan-Africanist Institute should therefore provide ideological, political, and technical weapons to all progressive forces of the African continent to fight against colonialism.
The EFF leader then said Africa needs one standing army to fight the wars sponsored by countries seeking to distract us with fighting so they can plunder our resources, before touching on greedy African dictators and the need to unite the continent against neo-colonialism and exploitation.
We need African Central Bank. We need African Monetary Zone. We need African military combat, because these pockets of wars that are happening in Africa are not of our own making. They are sponsored wars so that those who continue to steal our resources can do so uninterrupted as we fight amongst ourselves. So we need a military, a common defense system, the African High Command that will ensure the stability and security of Africa. We equally need a binding African court to deal with dictators who only exist in Africa to feed their friends and families. Those people must be prosecuted the African way. Sekou Toure and Emperor Haile Selassie prophetically said that the failure to unite the African continent will give rise to the neo-colonialism, and that African continent will perish. The revolutionary Pan-Africanist ideological and political diagnosis of the future was correct. The future is here. 50 years later, we know that we remain visitors in our own continent. We know that our resources benefit Euro-American than our own people. This is despite most African countries gaining independence from colonial rule since 1957. Massive, huge tracts of land, our mineral resources, our animals, our oceans are still owned and controlled by the colonial masters. There are no countries in the entire African continent that have gained full economic emancipation and independence. And this includes Ghana, which was the first to lead the road. Till to date, it can't claim that Africans in Ghana own the means of production. In 2016 report titled the neo-colonialism, reveals that there are 101 British companies listed on the London Stock Exchange that control.
We are an organization that wants to unify the whole of Africa, have one currency, have one parliament, have one president, and have one military command. Because the reason we are fragmented like this and we are defeated is because the enemy enjoys and thrives when we are divided. We are not a regional organization. We are an international organization. When we go everywhere in the continent, the people come out in their numbers to come and receive the message of the EFF, because we're an international organization. That's why when we sing Nkosi Sikelele Africa, there where we say Morena Boloka, you say South Africa, and we insist, yes, now we insist Africa. There's no South Africa in Nkosi Sikelele that we see. There's Africa. Because there is no place called South Africa. South Africa is a geographical concept which seeks to give you direction. It's not a name of a place. We are in Africa. So once you say Africa, you don't have to add anything before. You have covered everything, including this side of the south of Africa. Because we're an international organization. That's why the logo of the EFF has got no South African map. It has got African map. Because we're an organization that wants to unify the whole of Africa, have one currency, have one parliament, have one president, and have one military command. Because the reason we're fragmented like this and we're defeated is because the enemy enjoys and thrives when we're divided. They say to you, he says, remove borders. Why is he saying remove borders? He wants these people to come here. He wants these people to come here. There are no borders in Europe. The people who said to you, why do you want to remove borders? They don't have borders themselves. And we have not seen, because of borderless Europe, we have not seen the people of Italy moving to Britain. Because the pound is stronger, let's go to Britain than the euro. No. They've always stayed where they are. But they can eat breakfast in Italy and have lunch in Britain and have dinner in Spain without any hassle. Why? They are one people. They are enjoying each other. They embrace one another. But we must not do that. Once we do that, Malema says people must come here. They are going to take your jobs and all of that. Why are you allowing that? This Malema must be stopped. It's not true. In Lesotho, there is no fence between Free State and Lesotho. The people of Lesotho, what is the day today? Sunday. They are in Free State now as we speak. Around 5, 6. Bazopinda. Go back to Lesotho. There's no problem. They are together. They are one thing. So why didn't they move from Lesotho into Free State before even Malema existed and the EFF existed? Because there's never been a fence. There's no fence. Mashaba showed you. He went to Limpopo and said, yeah, look, there's no fence here between Zimbabwe and Limpopo. But when you go into Zimbabwe, there are still people there in Zimbabwe. They are staying there. Yet Mashaba confirmed there is no fence. And without fence, these people are going to come here. Malema says they must come here. There is no fence. Why are they not coming now? There is no fence. I said to you, mark that, we are led by fools. Because there is no fence, but there is a gate. We are led by fools. There is no fence, but there's a gate. When you go home today, you arrive at your home from this meeting, you just find the fence is gone. Only the gate is standing alone like this. And then, what do? Without fence, you still open the gate to... Hey, we're in a state of madness. Why, if these borders mean nothing, why are they opposed to them? They are threatened by African unity. Because the unity of African people will mean they are equal to China, they are equal to India, they are equal to Russia, they are equal to Britain. How can Swaziland tell Britain anything with that size of a population? They won't listen to them. But once we come together, we are billions of people who can confront the status quo globally. So,
I quote, Donald Trump is the enemy, end quote. He said this while defending Ibrahim Traore and calling for people to stand with Burkina Faso. Watch this clip, we'll come back and discuss.
America must never tell us what to do. The same United States, which is furious at being cut off from the riches of Burkina Faso, cannot tell us what to do. We stand with Captain Traore. We stand with Traore because we know that Traore stands for the unity of Africa. We are Traore, and Traore is all of us. If they kill Traore, you must know they would have created another wound in the continent of Africa. We must defend him the same way we defend the unity of Africa. We must defend China for defying the USA and telling the USA to go to hell because they don't understand how the tariffs works. Donald Trump is an enemy of himself and all of us.
Julius Malema made it very clear that we need to stand with Burkina Faso and Ibrahim Traore. He made it clear that he is not the enemy. Traore is not the enemy. The actual enemy is Donald Trump. And this is according to Julius Malema. Of course, he's getting pushback from those that want us to stay quiet and that want us to always be appreciative and applaud what they're doing, even though what they're doing is wrong. Some people, even though they know the truth, they don't want to admit it. They don't want to put themselves on the line. But Julius Malema has always been the person that speaks his mind, that speaks what he believes to be true, and he's not going to stay silent, even though it might cost him. And this is another example. Just recently, he was calling out Elon Musk and Trump for what they were trying to insinuate. Not actually insinuate, they were saying it out loud that white South Africans in South Africa are being mistreated and they need help. I think US already started interviewing white South Africans to go to America. I believe they're giving them asylum, which fine if that's what they want to do. And that's what Julius Malema said. He said if they want to take the racist to US, then
Malema's subsequent praise for leaders like Traore has fast forward to 2023, and Malema's tone shifted dramatically. The EFF publicly celebrated the formation of the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, by Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, a treaty that signalled a break from Western influence. Malema praised Traore, Mali's Colonel Assimi Goïta, and Niger's General Abdourahmane Chiani for rejecting neo-colonial exploitation and charting a path toward African sovereignty. An EFF statement issued in June 2023 hailed the alliance as a revolutionary act. The signing of the Confederation Treaty is a clear message to the imperialists. These nations will not be controlled. They are forging new political alliances that prioritize development and autonomy for their people. The party highlighted the leaders' bold decisions to expel French troops, close foreign military bases, and reclaim control of natural resources. The EFF framed these actions as vital steps in dismantling exploitative structures imposed by former colonial powers. These nations are setting a precedent for the rest of Africa, demonstrating that political and economic liberation is achievable in our lifetime with steadfast resolve and collective action. This endorsement marked a stark departure from Malema's earlier criticism of military takeovers, leaving observers puzzled about his true ideological stance. You see, the rise of Traore, Goita and Chiani has reshaped African geopolitics. Each leader has defied Western powers, opting for policies that prioritize national sovereignty over foreign partnerships. 1. Traore, who came to power in Burkina Faso in September 2022, has been vocal about breaking free from neo-colonial exploitation. His administration expelled French troops and rejected foreign control over the nation's resources. Traore's leadership has inspired a wave of Pan-African solidarity, but Malema's latest accusations threaten to undermine this perception. 2. Colonel Assimi Goita. In Mali, Goita has pursued similar policies, expelling foreign forces and seeking alliances that prioritize African interests. His government has positioned Mali as a leading voice against neo-colonialism. 3. General Abdourahmane Chiani. Niger's leader, Chiani, joined the AES Confederation in 2023, signaling a commitment to collective African resistance. His administration has faced criticism for its military origins, but continues to advocate for economic independence. EFF's anti-imperialist rhetoric has consistently emphasized the historical exploitation of Africa by colonial powers. The party accuses Western nations of fueling conflicts to secure resource extraction, leaving African nations impoverished. Westerners consider that we belong to them, and our wealth also belongs to them. This era is gone forever, Traore famously declared, a sentiment echoed by Malema's party. However, Malema's recent comments complicate this narrative. His allegations against Traore risk alienating allies in the Pan-African movement and undermining efforts to build a united front against neo-colonialism. The EFF has consistently called on African youth to lead the charge against imperialism. In a recent statement, the party urged young Africans to elect leaders committed to Pan-Africanism and protect them from Western interference. Together, we will challenge the remnants of colonial exploitation and build an integrated Africa where mineral wealth serves the economic freedom of the African child. This call to action underscores the party's vision of a self-reliant, united Africa. Julius Malema remains an enigmatic figure in African politics. His shifting stance on military takeovers and revolutionary leaders reflects the complexities of navigating a continent still grappling with its
brothers and sisters. Now, this is going to piss off the Western countries, and it is going to piss off the government of France, Emmanuel Macron, the White House, and Washington, DC, because things have been happening in the motherland of late, and we are seeing our leaders coming together to unite. We've seen leaders are running away from the puppet behaviors and are running away from the Western colonizers who have taken advantage of our own continent and who have looted everything in this continent. Now, in the recent days, if you've been so keen on the internet, you are going to realize that there has been much grown talk about the Black Unity, Pan-Africanism, and to exploitation of mineral resources in Africa, and of corruption that has been perpetuated by these Western countries. Now, bringing back the children of Africa back to the motherland, and the need for African continent to be sovereign and remain independent. Now, in the recent move in South Africa and in Burkina Faso and in most African countries, you are going to realize that presidents are now have started talking about how Africa should be independent and how the land of Africa should remain to the black people who belong to this continent. Why are the black people who are not in this continent have also a right to own land in Africa and not. It's very crazy, by the way. If I've been talking about this, and if I'm wrong, may someone come with the right statistics and table them, and let's see who is right, that 75 to 80% of the land in South Africa is not owned by South Africans. In fact, 65% of South Africans live in houses that are not theirs. To mean they are on rentals and they pay mortgages and all this stuff. So the lifestyle in an African country becoming way too much than for a very normal African person to afford is very crazy. And this is why we say we don't want Western interference in Africa. This is why Julius Malema of late is calling out his brother Ibrahim Traore to come together and work for Africa, that this duo will liberate this continent, that we need more aggressive leaders. I know most of you think that democratic leaders will save this country, and democracy, the rule of law, and all those stuff that you've been brainwashed with. Let me just tell you something. I know most will say you are young, you do not know how these things work. Of course, I accept. But one thing in my few years that I've lived, and I know the rule of law, democracy, these are the two terms that the Western countries have used to colonize Africa. That we want someone who respects democracy and the rule of law. And in that path, this is where they have found their way back. They have found their way back to Africa, and they're exploiting and extorting everything in Africa. And when we have a military leader like Ibrahim Traore, who doesn't take nonsense, who is shaping that country in 2 years, whatever his predecessors couldn't make in 40, 50, 60 years, Ibrahim Traore is doing in 2 years. And you know what? We need aggressive leaders in Africa. We need the likes of Julius Malema. Many of you will say Julius Malema is arrogant, but we need arrogance to stop the menace that is happening in Africa. We need this arrogance to stop the white dominance in our own countries. I'm not talking it in a bad way. I know any person can invest anywhere around the world, but with utmost respect to the people of that land, with utmost respect to the culture of the people who live in that country. You can't come to Africa and start preaching about LGBTQ rights, and which goes against African culture and African principalities. So I'm not saying that I'm against this or whatever, but it is good for you to stop meddling with African affairs. Leave African continent to the people of Africa to run it. You come to Africa from south to western to east, from south to the northern part, from the eastern to the western part. People are talking French, people are talking Belgium, people are talking Spanish, people are talking Germany, people are talking German, people are talking English, and all this other stuff. These are the languages that were brought along with colonization, that we were colonized, later on brainwashed, and we have an African continent where the African norms and culture is dying. Then the whiteness or the white culture are now dominating Africa. People want to dress like them. People want to eat pizza like them. People want to do things as them. Now, if we are going to live this way, if we are going to live their lives in Africa, if we black people are going to do the same way they do, then it will be the highest level of brainwashing, because we were colonized, brainwashed a little bit. We remained with our culture, and our brothers and sisters who were taken to the other part of the world, they were stripped of their culture. They do not have a culture because their culture was taken away, religion was taken away, so many other things were taken away, their freedoms were taken away. Then they were given other cultures, they were given other religions, and they were meant to believe in them. And this level of brainwashing is still happening even in Africa. This is why when we see leaders like Ibrahim Traore, leaders like Julius Malema, Dr. Arikana coming out to say, we want black unity. We want the children of Africa home. This is the best we can have in Africa. Leave alone the Democrats who are running around Africa looting everything. It's, by the way, those people calling themselves Democrats in Africa and around the world, they have looted every single penny from the taxes. They have looted all resources that belong to the country and that belong to the citizens. Now, these are the same people who have allowed exploitation of our mineral resources by the Western countries, are the same people running corruption, are the same people who have sold our lands to the Western companies. Now, I was doing my research and I saw KFC and so many other companies. KFC, there is other one that is used to sell gas. I won't mention it. And so many other companies have gained land, have access to acres of lands in Africa, the whole of the African continent. And I was going through a masterpiece, and someone was really explaining this, that most of the governments in Africa have been giving free land to companies like the KFC. And they have been giving these lands and later on being bribed, in that KFC has been owning a lot more land. They are not even paying rent in some countries. They have been given direct land with title deeds. Now they have the ownership of those lands because the governments are allowing them. I know it is good to do business, but do business with utmost respect. This government's doing this in Africa, while the common African man, while the common African woman with the children, and they lack land, living very low standard lives, and the government is going ahead to give land to these multinational companies in Africa for them to be praised by the likes of the Joe Bidens and all this, by the Bill Gates of this world. So we really do not want to see these things happening, and this is why we are rooting for people like Ibrahim Traore, Julius Malema. You might say all things, but I'm very sure if we give a chance to people like Julius Malema to lead this continent, for the likes of Ibrahim Traore to lead this continent, Dr. Arikana being there to advise them, we are not going to lose focus. It is their biggest fear if the likes of Julius Malema will join Ibrahim Traore and form an alliance to fight for Africa. I know, even if it is in the holy books that Babylon did fall, right? And the Babylon is going to fall. When I talk of Babylon, I talk of these oppressive countries that have been there, that have been conditioned to oppress Africa, that we black folks around the world do not have anything that belongs to us. The gold in our lands, the mineral resources in our lands belong to them. Our children belong to them. Everything belongs to them. The only thing that belongs to us is oppression, and oppression. This must come to an end. And if this has to come to an end, then we, the people in Africa, and the black people of, let me just say, the black community around Africa, around the world, I mean, must first support the unity of the motherland and that of the black community as well, and must support Pan-Africanism. If you do not know something about Pan-Africanism, I feel like go learn about Pan-Africanism. Promote the end to exploitation of mineral resources in Africa. Speak about this and stand against the exploitation of African resources. Now, let's speak about ending corruption. Corruption is whatever have made these puppet leaders to be in power for the longest time, and to help them continue looting Africa. Now, bring back the children of Africa back to the motherland. It has been the wish of Ibrahim Traore to bring all the children of Africa who are willing, because others are not yet willing, because they have heard stories about Africa which are very negative. So bring those who are willing to Africa. Those who can invest, and those who just want to stay, let them live in the land of their mother, in the motherland. And lastly, let Africa be liberated, and let African land remain to black folks around the world, and not to these multinational companies that have looted Africa, that continue looting from black people. So we say no to exploitation, and we say no to corruption, and we say no to looting of African land, and we say yes to black unity. We say yes to Pan-Africanism. We say yes to the children of Africa coming back home. Thank you so much for having taken your time to watch this video, brothers and sisters. I hope you all have enjoyed this masterpiece, and we continue bringing you episodes of Black Unity. So stay tuned. If it's your first time, please consider subscribing, sharing, commenting, and liking this video. Thank you so much.